Number 7. Ford Falcon. The Ford Falcon arrived in 1960 as Detroit's response to a question American buyers had been asking with their checkbooks for several years. Was it possible to build a small, economical car domestically the way the Volkswagen Beetle was doing it from Germany? Ford's answers sold 435,676 units in its debut year, one of the strongest compact launches in American automotive history. The Falcon was straightforward engineering in the most literal sense, a 144 cubic inch inline-six producing modest output, a body sized for urban streets and highway commuting, and a price that made it accessible to buyers for whom the full-size alternatives were a financial stretch. It filled a specific and previously underserved space in the American market. Its success validated the growing American compact market that Chevrolet and Chrysler were already moving toward, and contributed to the brief compact boom of the early decade. The Falcon's place in automotive history extends beyond its own sales figures. It was the platform on which Ford built the first-generation Mustang, a lineage that the Falcon's reputation for sensible transportation makes somewhat surprising in retrospect. Plymouth Valiant. The Plymouth Valiant became one of Chrysler's most commercially significant products of the decade, a compact that outlasted the economic pressures, management decisions, and product failures that defined much of Chrysler's 1960s narrative. Road and Track described it as one of the best all-around domestic cars available in its segment. The Valiant's foundation was the Slant Six, a 225 cubic inch inline-six whose reliability record became one of the most documented in American automotive history. Owners who maintained it with basic regularity discovered a powertrain that resisted failure at mileages that American compact engines of the era did not typically achieve. Chrysler's 5-year, 50,000-mile powertrain warranty, introduced in the early 1960s, gave Valiant buyers a documented commitment that the competition was not offering. The Valiant is on this list not because it was the most exciting car available in the 1960s, it was not, but because it earned its place in American driveways through one of the most consistent reliability records in the compact segment and became one of the products that helped stabilize Chrysler during a difficult decade for the company. Number 5. Volkswagen Beetle. The Volkswagen Beetle's sales reached their decade peak in 1968 when 423,008 units were sold in the United States alone, a figure that established it as the most successful imported car in American automotive history and one of the most culturally embedded vehicles of the post-war era. The Beetle's appeal in the 1960s operated on two distinct levels. For the majority of buyers who simply needed reliable, economical transportation, it was a car that started every morning, cost little to maintain, and held its value. For the counterculture that adopted it as a symbol of anti-materialism, it was also an identity statement, a visible minority of buyers, but a loud one. The air-cooled rear engine required no coolant system, simplifying maintenance in ways that American buyers who worked on their own cars appreciated. The advertising campaign produced by Doyle Dane Bernbach, Think Small, became one of the most analyzed marketing efforts in American history. But the car behind the campaign sold in those numbers because it delivered what it promised. By the end of the decade, approximately 2.63 million Beetles had been sold in the American market.
Number 4. Chevrolet Nova, Chevy 2. General Motors introduced the Chevy 2 in 1962 as a direct competitive response to the Ford Falcon and to the criticism that the Corvair's rear engine design was too unconventional for mainstream buyers. It was conventional by design, and that conventionality became its commercial strength throughout the decade. The Chevy 2 offered buyers a straightforward front-engine, rear-wheel drive compact with a range of 4-cylinder and 6-cylinder options that prioritized simplicity over sophistication. It was the car that suburban families bought when they needed a second vehicle, that young buyers chose as a first car, and that businesses selected for fleet transportation precisely because its maintenance demands were relatively simple and its dealer network was the most comprehensive in the country. Renamed the Nova in 1969, it ended the decade among Chevrolet's most volume-consistent nameplates. The Chevy 2 and Nova never attracted the attention that the Impala or the Mustang generated. That absence of attention is a precise description of what they were. The car that was always there, in enormous numbers, doing exactly what was asked of it. Number 3. Ford Mustang. The Ford Mustang sold 418,812 units in its first partial production year, a number that Ford's own internal projections had not anticipated, and that the American automotive industry had not produced for a single new model since the post-war years. By 1969, approximately 2.38 million Mustangs had been sold. The Mustang created the pony car segment. It established that a long hood, a short deck, and a starting price under $2,400 could produce a car that young buyers would choose in the numbers that only full-size family vehicles had previously achieved. It was built on the Falcon platform, the same sensible compact engineering that underpinned number 7 on this list, and sold on the strength of an identity that the platform alone could not have supported. The 1960s Mustang is remembered today for the performance variants, the Shelby GT350, the 428 Cobra Jet, the Boss 429, that represented a small fraction of production. The car that your parents actually drove was more likely the 6-cylinder coupe, practical, attractive, and priced to be the household's second or third vehicle rather than a high-performance street machine. Number 2. Ford Galaxie. The Ford Galaxie was the Chevrolet Impala's most direct competition throughout the decade, a full-size American family car built to the same formula of spacious interior, available V8 engines, and annual styling updates that gave buyers a reason to return to the dealership every fall. Approximately 3 million Galaxies were sold across the decade. The Galaxie occupied the upper tier of Ford's lineup, offering buyers the same fundamental proposition as the Impala, a car large enough for a family of 5 or 6, comfortable across long highway distances, and available in a range of engine configurations from the Economy 6 to the high-performance 427 cubic inch V8 that Ford campaigned at NASCAR. Most buyers chose something between those extremes, a 390 V8 in a 4-door hardtop that balanced the performance American buyers expected with the fuel costs that even in the early 1960s represented a household calculation. The Galaxie never surpassed the Impala in annual sales volume. It came close enough to keep the competition meaningful and to ensure that both manufacturers continued refining their full-size cars throughout the decade.
Number 1. Chevrolet Impala. The Chevrolet Impala led American car sales in 7 of the decade's 10 years. In 1965, it sold 1,074,925 units, still the highest annual sales volume ever recorded by a single model in United States automotive history. No other car defines what it meant to drive in the 1960s with more numerical authority than this one. The Impala's formula was not complicated, a full-sized body that accommodated 6 adults without meaningful compromise, a range of engine options from the 250 cubic inch 6 to the 427 cubic inch V8 that powered the SS performance variants, annual styling updates that kept the car visually current, and a price that made it accessible to the mainstream American family at a moment when that family had more purchasing power than it had ever had. The Impala was not a car people drove because it was remarkable. It was a car people drove because it was correct. The right size, the right price, the right reliability record, the right dealer network. For any American who grew up in the 1960s, the Impala is not a car that needs to be described. It was simply there, in every driveway on every street for the entire decade.